So, karibuni sana. Thank you so much for joining us, the ones who have joined us on Zoom, on YouTube, on our other social media handles. I'm very, very excited to kick off this afternoon with a story that hopefully will inspire one of you to achieve that goal, to get out of the comfort zone, and to believe in yourself once more, and to say, hey, I know no boundaries. And that is why we decided to bring Evelyn. I'll kick off with a short story about Evelyn, and then we can go to the discussion. I hope you can.
Hi, my name is Evelyne Müller, and I am a psychologist. At the age of 27, I went through a crisis of meaning. I was feeling empty and void inside despite being a high achiever in the society. And so I was wondering what gives life meaning, how can I have more fulfillment, and how can I be happy in long-lasting ways? And so I dedicated my master's degree to these questions. And I've since found helpful and practicable ways to increase meaning and happiness in my own life in long-lasting ways. And this is why I founded Fulfilled Life, because I wanted to share the knowledge I had gained over the years with people who might be going through a similar situation as I was, or people who are looking to increase meaning or happiness in their own lives. Hi, my name is...
Wow. Thank you so much for the nice introduction. I think this is one of the very challenging topics we all face as Africans in the diaspora when we migrate to other countries, not necessarily Africans, but mostly Africans. When we leave our countries and go to other countries, and it takes time to figure out, where am I, who am I, and what are my goals? And having you on this space, I think it's very, very important to help most of us. We've seen a huge gap in some of the professions where we are not many. We are not many of us, and we just need to figure out what needs to be done that we get in there. And that is actually the backbone of Career Hub. If we don't bring these people to such platforms, you will never know they exist. You would never know there are such opportunities. You will never know there are such professions. And that is why we do them. And we will not get tired of bringing them every day, every now and then, every second. We are building these platforms for the generations to come. So karibu sana, Evelyn. Thank you so much for joining the Career Hub community. Every time I do a story, I always say we have won a mentor. And thank you so much. Let us know who is Evelyn. Of course, we have watched your short clip, but let us know. Uyu mrembo, this wonderful lady, Ninani, and where is she based? And then we can jump into the next discussion.
Yeah, thank you so much, Asante, for inviting me today, that I have this opportunity to share my story, which I'm very delighted about. I am very happy for this opportunity. And I'm so excited about the people who've joined us today, that they've taken their time to spend the afternoon with us. I applaud that. So me, I was born and raised in Kenya, Nairobi. That's my origin. And at around the age of 20, I moved to the UK, joined the army there, was sent here in Germany. And while I was here in Germany, I met a German man who convinced me to stay here despite not having the language or any skills whatsoever, so the language skills whatsoever. So I decided to stay here. I got married, so been married for 13 years now.
Wow.
And I have a son. My son is 12 years. And in the course of being here, so I've been here, well, I came here with the army, it's around 16 years. When I left the army, I was like, okay, so I need to do something about myself, about my life. I've always wanted to study, so I decided to study psychology. And at the moment, I work for the Telefonseelsorge in Bielefeld. I live near Bielefeld. And Telefonseelsorge, maybe I could just say a bit about that, is a calling center where anyone can call the Telefonseelsorge if they're going through distress, if they're suicidal, if they have depression. Their services are for free, so there's no charges for that. And that's what so we have volunteers. We have around 75 volunteers, and I'm one of the staff members who takes care of the volunteers, make sure that they are doing fine, that they are they are psychologically okay, and I train them, I do supervision with them. And if someone is also interested in volunteering there, I could always recommend it. So that's what I do. Like, I do that part-time. On the other hand, I'm also part-time a speaker. So what the video you showed is from my part-time business, which I do. Business is not the best suited name, but I would call it that. Where I go around speaking on different topics, be it self-worth, believing in yourself, fulfilled life, how to be hopeful, and I also love empowering migrants, which I talked about that a bit in the video. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. As I also said earlier on, especially in Germany, we relocate to a country where we don't understand the culture, the language. There's so many aspects. And one of the things that I have noticed in this country, there are so many impossibilities. So you walk into this office and you're told, das ist leider nicht möglich, das können wir nicht machen, das haben wir noch nie gemacht. Und das können wir, oder das, this unmöglich, yeah? And when I came here, I always asked myself, what do they always mean that this is unmöglich? I come from a background where if you start a kiosk, it backfires. You start selling tomatoes, or we come from a background where we keep on trying, yeah? If you train as a teacher, you can end up working in a different profession, whereas in this country, it's really very different, yeah? And so many of us, we find ourselves in a ditch, and by that time you really discover who you are, then it really takes some time. So maybe before you talk to us about what exactly you're doing, and why did you decide to navigate into this career? Did you also face the same obstacle of it's nicht möglich?
Yeah. You always have to remember this. Anyone, and whoever is watching this, you always have to remember this. People have a certain idea of what Africans are. So, and the kind of Africans they know mostly is from TV, with a big stomach, with flies on their face. So you coming here and saying you want to study psychology is like, how outrageous. Like, who do you think you are? Like, what are you doing? They can't
You're
just
from another planet.
They can't put that together. So I experienced that actually in the army as well. So in the army, when I was in the army, I wanted to study. And I expressed, in fact, I did what is it called? An intelligence test. And out of that intelligence test, I had there was a long printout because my scores were really high. But they highlighted 3 jobs for me: a driver, a CG whatnot, and something else. Things that I didn't want to do. I actually wanted to become a pilot when I was joining the army. So they blocked that, and I thank God now in 99 because I'm a psychologist. But they blocked that path for me, and they told me, yeah, you'll get it, but they just refused. So coming to Germany, I remember my husband, I have a really good husband. I remember telling my husband, I'm going to study psychology after having time and really thinking through what exactly do I want to do. My husband telling me, you know what, that is not going to work. You just become a Verkäuferin at Lidl. And there's nothing wrong about becoming a Verkäuferin at Lidl or whatever, but it's not what I felt like, my ability. I felt like I have more to give, And so there's always there's a lot of direct but also indirect messages which are given to us like, that's not impossible, you're not qualified for that job, you're not the best fit for that job. So there's a lot of that, and if you are not very clear for yourself, what is it exactly that I want to do, it's gonna be difficult to actually pursue what you want, because at the end of the day, look, so when I left the army and I decided I'm gonna become a psychologist here in Germany, I had no idea the language. There was no language. I didn't have the language skills, but we Africans and Kenyans, we are resourceful. And I think that is what comes to our advantage. If you're resourceful enough to think, okay, so this path, the direct path has been blocked for me. What other paths can I take so that I can get there at the same place? It might take a bit longer, but I know where I want to go.
You will get there. Yes.
Yeah. So that's what I did. I ended up thinking to myself, okay, I'm good at English. I can speak English to the perfection. So German, I was like, okay, at the time I knew no chance of studying here at the university. I had to learn the language. I had to, which is possible. You know, I'm not trying to say that that's impossible, but for me at the time, I was not in a situation that I could do that. So I thought to myself, okay, I can apply in a university in the UK. There's long distance. What's stopping me from doing that? Wow. And that's how I did my bachelor's degree. I did it with a small baby, always at home on long distance. And then when I finished that, I remember getting my first job and they were like, wir müssen das anerkennen lassen. And I was like, what is that? And thankfully, it was anerkannt. So that is something I always want to say to someone. If you apply for a university, make sure it's a accredited university. And you can check that on DADs. You know, there's this DAD, I think.
Yes.
They have that, and they can show you which universities are accredited or not.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And so, yes, you can literally study anywhere in the world, you know, and then make sure it's accredited here in Germany. And then you're qualified. Your qualifications are fine. So later
wait a minute before we jump, because I'm sure we have people who are like, I've always wanted to study psychology, and I'm in an environment where my German is not good enough and I don't know where to start. So like, where did you do it and how much was the cost? Maybe we can help one person or two people or 100 people with this talk.
Yes. I did it at the Open University. So I did my bachelor's degree at the Open University in the UK, and my master's degree in Glyndŵr University. What I could say though about distance learning and about the universities is that they're not necessarily that cheap. So maybe that's something that can become a hurdle. But if you remember, they're distance learning. So that means I could actually have a job here and do that part-time. So it's not undoable. So I paid, I think, for one degree, each degree around 7,500.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah. So it's but that's I guess the price you have to pay if you really want to pursue what you want. And I think the only way, in fact, because I was in the army, I had saved up some money. I was able to pay for that. So those are the things that I knew. I have this and I have that, and I'll put them together and I'll get at that goal, even if everyone has told me I'm not gonna, you know. And I remember even Kenyan people discouraging me, just telling me, you know, no, we Africans, we don't have such jobs here, you know. And they were telling me, you know, you'll just either become a putzfrau, you will never learn this language. That's what some people told me. You either do puts. And I remember having that crisis, thinking to myself, how did I end up in this place, you know, like, but becoming resourceful. And I think that's one thing that we have. We are not like very fixed in our thinking. Like it can only, you know, like, I don't want to, the Germans tend to be like that. They only have, it's always been done like this. It's always like this.
The straight path, smooth path.
Yes. But we know that there's you can take
always a way out.
And still many ways lead to Rome. So
Wow. Fantastic story. So before we go to the next talk is, of course, we want to make sure that at the end of this discussion, at least one person has changed their mindset. And of course, you know, there's a lot of issues about psychology. There are people who never take them serious, others who take them very serious, others who take them very lightly. But to me, if you ask me at the end of the day, it's the right mindset. If you have the right mindset, you can go so far wherever you are. It doesn't have necessarily to be in this country. And secondly, I loved what you said, that we Kenyans, we know how to navigate. While someone says this door is closed, then you're like, okay, let me try the other door. I'm sure I will get there, however long it's going to take. So one of the issues that really bothers me up to today is we see very few Africans in some of these professions. It could be we were told it's nicht möglich, and we buried our dreams. It could be we do not have the resources. It could be we do not have the courage to say, I can do it. Yeah. It could be 1,000 reasons, but we don't want to concentrate on the reasons. We want to know, okay, what do you think you as Evelyn, you as a very bold Evelyn, because that's who you are. That's what you put on your face. Say, hey, I am here. I'm ready to go. Nothing is going to stop me. What do you think hinders us from going to those places, and what needs to be done? 2 questions.
Yes. Okay. Wait, let me, yeah.
Start with the hindrances first, and then I will go to the
what
solution.
hinders us? First of all, for example, in the psychology branch or discipline, I think it has a lot to do with, first of all, people just thinking psychology has something to do with mental illness. So I think, so maybe there's also a bit of stigma attached to that, that you know, like you just have this idea of someone on the streets naked and walking around, and you know, and people are scared of working with that. But what I can say is psychology has very many branches, you know, and there's so many things. It's like, you know, the way we know there's a doctor, but then there's all sorts of, there's a orthopedist and all sorts of, so that's how psychology is. There's so many branches in there. If it's something you're interested in, I would always say to people, explore and find out. And also there's also the thing of lack of information. Lack of information is a big one. So for me, I really struggle to find out what exactly is my path. But I had the courage, and maybe this is something I can always say to someone, just write to hospitals and ask them, can I come and do a practicum? So that's what I did. I went and did a practicum at a hospital. So I was like, okay, no, that's not really what I want to do. I went and did a practicum at a Frauenberatungsstelle. I knew, okay, that's not exactly what I want. So just trying different things so that you can get the information for yourself.
Oh, wow.
Is very, very important. The other thing is, I think, you know, I always say, when we are back home, if you're back home and you say, so for example, if I would say I want to become a psychologist, people back home who know me and from the society, they'll be like, oh yeah, go ahead, go do it, you know, go for it. You need this and that and that. Here, and that's what I mentioned also at the beginning, if you say that as a Black person, you will always have people sort of like maybe not asking further questions, maybe even saying to you, ich weiß es nicht, ob das funktionieren wird. And if you hear that a lot of times, by the way, it does something to you. It does. It does. And even me, I had moments. I remember when I was doing one of my practicums, I was sat there in a big hall. We would always have meetings at the first thing in the morning, in a big hall full of doctors and psychologists and everything. And I was the only Black person, you know, and that can intimidate you, you know, you might feel intimidated. And I had moments where I felt intimidated, or even moments where work colleagues would sort of be like, I don't know, you just get a feeling like people are not seeing you as an equal. And you have to learn to notice that and reject it, and not ignore. And I don't mean reject it in the sense of tell them, sometimes you have to put them in their place, but sometimes you have to register that for yourself. This is what has just happened, but I'm not going to accept it. And I can maybe give an example. I remember, so this job that I'm doing, when I started this job, and I really have good work colleagues, but I had to learn like what the volunteers do on the telephone. And I would go in with them in the shift. And every time they would ask me, are you a practicanting? And I'm like, no, I'm the new psychologist. And they'd be like, was hast du schon mal gemacht? Also,
doubts all over.
So they would, yes, they would, exactly. You would just see doubt in their face. And I remember this happened to me 3 times. And I would come out of that feeling like, you know, something was off. I couldn't place it in the big. And then I realized what's happening, you know? So I said so I had to prepare myself. I prepared myself and said, oh, the next one will ask me that question. So when she asked me that question, I was like,
I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you, and I just gave them my whole CV. And I saw that person, the way she was going smaller, getting smaller and smaller. and getting, because you have to take that room, you know? And I'm like, yes, I am the new psychologist. I am actually in charge of you, you know? And not.
I love that.
Yeah, yes. but it's not, I always say it's not rudeness. It's not being aggressive, though sometimes you have to be in some situations, not aggressive, like you have to stop people, but it's thinking through what has happened and how can I react the next time so that I don't feel inferior, you know? So that someone people don't, so yes, so there's that. There's this aspect of as well of there's so many subtle messages which are given to us, you know, that do affect us, that leave us thinking that we can't occupy such spaces, but we can. Yeah, we can.
Stagnating, Stagnating,
also, yes. And I also, one more thing, I think also just just knowing that these things they do take time. To achieve such a goal takes time, you know. So it has taken me, for my bachelor's degrees took me 4 years, my master's degrees took me 3 years. So those are 8 years already, you know, no, seven. So you have to be willing to put in the time and the hard work and be resourceful. Like, what can I do? Where can I go? Which uni? You know, what can I do? How can I get the best shot for myself? Yeah.
Wow.
And also then the next question: what needs to be done? I think, information, but there is information out there, but it's I sometimes I find it's not quite accessible for us. You read stuff, and because you know, I always used to find I'm reading something and I understand what it's saying, but because I don't have the background information about the culture, how the systems work, I don't quite get what is being said in this information. So I think maybe in the international offices, in the universities or something like that, that people just take time to explain to people, to migrants, what exactly is psychology, what is this, what is that, and how do I go down that path? So and I think also for Africans, you just have to find out who's there, Google who's there, how can I find out more information, what do I need to know? And yes, unfortunately, I don't know, maybe you have another idea.
Actually, I wanted to say we have you now. I think one of the biggest challenges that most of us have faced is lacking that mentor, that figure, to that Lucy Wanjiko out there, you know, that Evelyn out there, that Sylvia, that Julia, that Sarah out there, you know, saying, hey, you don't have necessarily to follow their path, but at least you can have someone to have a dialogue with and say, hey, how did you get there? You know, just someone to help you to navigate into the system. What helps me mostly is, I got to some point and I said, I will not focus on this, let me say, ideologies about Africans. When I walk into an office, I walk into an office as Caroline Mwangi. I don't work in an office as an African looking to see how they're going to react. That has helped me a lot. When I'm discussing an issue, I do not discuss feeling like my language skills are not efficient enough. I discuss with them just like the way they discuss it with myself. And I always tell them at the back of my mind, I have other languages I speak so well. And not because I do not speak German language should not make me not deliver what I'm supposed to do. So those two aspects have really helped me. Wherever I walk in, I don't go looking to see how are they going to react. I'm going to influence them with the way I'm going to do things. So maybe that is something you can take away. But of course, the most important thing is having people to help us understand the systems. And that is why we keep on bringing so many people on the AG Career Hub. We have you, we brought Lucy before, just to help you to navigate through the system. And lastly, I keep telling people have 3 options. If A doesn't work, try B. If B doesn't work, try C, but focus more on A, you know, because sometimes we are like, let me try this. And then you You're like, I'm not so sure. And I loved one statement you say that we should be patient. Sometimes we like shortcuts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shortcuts. You come here, for example, I interact a lot with some students, and some of them, they come here and they're like, I want to change. I want to do. I was feeling, I have no issue about that. But is this really what brought you from home to this country? Is this really your plan A, or it's your plan C because someone else is doing plan C? And then when you get there, you're like, damn, this is not what I wanted to do. So take time to evaluate your ideas. And before even you relocate to a country, try to Google and see which networks are there. There's so many wonderful networks of Africans in Germany. We have Quig, we have us, we have many other very nice networks that can help you. So I think I took over the space.
No, that's fine. That's fine. No, you're right. Maybe I could just quickly add on to what you said, Njoki. Even me, I don't see myself as an African, despite knowing that some people have, there's a Prägung here about Africa. But I never, because even when I was back home, and I think this is what we always have to remind ourselves, we are made in God's image. God did not make a mistake when he made all of us the way he made us. So I am of the same worth and value just like anyone else. And when I go in there, just because I don't speak the language in perfection does not mean that I'm not intelligent and that I'm not, and just knowing that for yourself, because nobody can give that to you. It's something you have to know it for yourself. And if you have that, then you're able to, like you say, just go into meetings, go into whatever in a very different way than in this, this poor African, because the subtle messages that are being given to you are that poor African, but you need to get those off, get off you and just go in as you. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. I'm sure we'll have a Q&A, people also adding one or two remarks about how they got over this. So we have people who are like, they read the title of our topic. They're like, I would like to become or work as a psychologist and a speaker in Germany. How did you find your space where you are? Where should they start? And like, oops, can you hear me? Yes. I just hit the mouse. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, first of all, like psychology has many branches. So you have to try out the different, just Google, ask for practicum, check out the different places. So me, I was at a hospital, I was at a Frauenberatungsstelle. And in the end, what I realized is that though I have lots of respect for people who work in the hospital and in the different areas, what I find, even from a young age, what I always used to do is uplift people who feel downhearted or people who are not seeing their own worth, or, and I always loved to do that. I would just do that naturally. And so now where I've ended up, it's more like pastoral care. What I do, it's Seelsorge. So it's caring for the soul. And I guess you have to try out different things so that you're able to find out. And practicum, in sense of practicum, just trying different practicums and just so that you can find out. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to do something and be totally unhappy and satisfied with it, and here there's that possibility of doing a practicum. And if you apply, what I find is that, in fact, my biography, me being African, sometimes is very interesting for many people. So they're like, yeah, come, let's have you in our place and just try out and see if it works out for you. So that's what I would advise. Check out the different areas and see if really they're the ones. Is that the area that you want to go into? And as a speaker, I guess that's also something that came with time, because, like I said, I love uplifting people and empowering people. In fact, it's a funny story. Like, the first time I spoke in front of people was in high school. In high school we would do debates.
Yes.
Yeah. And I remember standing in front of my class and like, what's the English one? Tittering.
Like you're shaking. You're nervous.
I was shaking. I was so so nervous. And I remember everyone was so shocked. How can she be nervous? Because I'm a very extroverted person. I really need that kind of person. So everyone was not understanding, like, how is she nervous? And I remember saying to myself, never again, never, ever again. But with time, I would watch people speaking and I would be like, I could have done that different, or maybe how's the message? So I would be evaluating much more. And I think God did speak to me. You know, you need to speak. But I said to myself, no. That was when I did it once, it didn't work out for me. And then I always say God tricked me into a job.
That's a nice one.
Because I found this job where it's a counseling job, but and one of the pillars was Sensibilisierungsarbeit. Me, I didn't know what exactly that meant. So I was like, yeah, you know, as long as we're doing counseling. So I got that job, but then the counseling bit was actually the smallest part, and the Sensibilisierung. So going out and telling people about Islamism, extremism.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was the biggest part. So, and I remember my first places where I went to speak, I would speak in front of politicians and stuff. I would not sleep nights before that, you know, like I would be so nervous, and I would stand there with my hands held at the back so that nobody sees the way they're shaking. I know. I couldn't hold up paper. Oh my God. Yeah. And I was like, God, you tricked me into this job, because I was praying, you know, I prayed so much. God, if I only want this job if it's the job for me, you know, and I was like, so I got it. Despite not speaking Arabic, I was not Muslim, you know, and all these things. But I was so grateful that I had that job, because that's where I refined my speaking
skills. Oh, wow.
My speaking abilities. And I remember standing there and people, I would wonder, why are they staring at me? Why are they staring at me? With time, I realized they're not staring, they're listening intently. You know, that's how nervous I used to be. I used to confuse stuff. And after that, I thought to myself, okay, if people can listen to me, even when I'm that nervous, then that means that there is
something.
Yeah, there is something there. And so I decided I'm going to become a speaker. And I remember thinking to myself, your German is not good enough, this, that, you know, who will want to listen to an African and all that. But at the end of the day, thinking to myself, no, if God is calling me and I have this ability, I have to believe in myself. I have to do it, you know. And so I started giving courses at the VHS. That's how I started.
Wow.
The VHS.
The Volkshochschule. The VHS is the Volkshochschule.
Wow. And everyone and anyone can do that. You just have to put in an application. I would like to give a course or a talk, and then they let you, you know. And that's how I started 3 years ago. So I would go to the Volkshochschule and give seminars or a talk, or, you know, on topic of meaning, believing in yourself. And then I reached up when I was like, okay, you know what, I'm even if my German is not perfect, people are understanding what I'm saying. They're taking something with them. So this could be something. And so I started asking at Frauen, women's events and stuff. And that's how I actually, started getting engagements then and speaking in different places. Yeah. So that's my journey as a speaker and psychologist.
I hope you're all taking notes. Wow, that is really nice. I think we can talk the whole night, because I think these are the talks we need to hear on and off. Like, how did I find my space? Yeah. And I keep saying every person has their space in this country, whether you speak that language or not. Every person has that space. Well, I met a neighbor, some places we were staying a couple of years ago, and he was not very good in language skills, but his confidence, oh wow. He brought confidence. I don't know from where, because you cannot buy it, but even when you talk to him, you have to create space for him. And he told us, like, I when I got my first job, the boss saw the confidence that I have. I don't have any. He had not even done any Ausbildung here. He's from the West African countries, but the boss saw how confident this young man was. And right now he's the one in charge. When the boss is not there, he's the boss. And when you walk in there, he says, "Ich bin der Chef." So ladies, guys, take that space. Take that space, take that space. Yeah. And that guy really, and he passed on this confidence to his children. He said, I'm not going to pass anything negative to my children. I'm going to pass on those tools that are going to help them to navigate within the system. Yeah. And you could actually even see his children. They walk in somewhere, you just see and they do it so smartly. You know, there are people, you know, like they're, you know, like they're forcing themselves. They just come and you just sense they're there.
Yeah.
They have taken their position. Yeah. So most of us blame the language. Fine. I know the language is an issue. I was there myself. My German is not perfect, but there's so many other things we can do so well.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So focus on what you're good at, and then the rest, itaingiana too.
Exactly. And that's why I like saying that although I'm a speaker, I don't speak perfect German, because people think then they automatically then she must speak perfect German. No, I don't. I actually don't. And it's like the way you say it, you know, it's believing in yourself and knowing I have a message that people want to listen to. And when I know that, and that's a reality, then people are willing to overlook your mistakes, the mistakes in your language, you know. And I remember asking myself, like all Germans can speak perfect German, but are they speakers? No. So there's a lot more to becoming a speaker than just speaking perfect German, you know. So, and this other stuff, I have them, and just believing in myself. But it doesn't mean that I don't have moments of self-doubt. I do, you know, and every time where I get invited somewhere where it's a bit higher. So the last time I had to speak to a group of priests, and I remember thinking to myself, oh God, am I going to be able to do that? Are they going to, you know, and I started thinking, oh, they're much more intellectuals than I am. But I went and I just said to myself, you know what, these are also people, they will laugh at the jokes. Just go and do it. And it started a bit rocky, but when I saw they're laughing at the jokes, I just realized these are people just like every other people. And I continued, you know. And I think it's always a thing of just go and do it. Do it. And while you're doing it, on the way, you'll find out that you're able to do it.
Yeah. Wow. I keep saying, if you don't try it, you will never know you can do it. And even if you fail, we all fail. You wake up the following day and say, you brush it off and say, well, I failed yesterday, but today's a new day. You move on. And also being the right networks. I mean, we come here, unfortunately, we bring a small, let me say Kenyan mindset in this case, or African mindset. We bring it here. We don't want to interact with these people here. We just like, no. And then we feel very misplaced. Yeah. I remember this one lady, Leah Mogore, if you're watching us, that was her interview with Philly Yambo Makora. And Leah said a statement that really struck me. She said, we are here now. So we should do our best now, not in 10 years. Wow.
Yeah.
She said, we are here to buy homes. We are here to establish businesses. We are here to excel in whatever we are doing. We are here to set up cleaning companies. We're here to do anything. We are here to be psychologists everywhere. Not there, not in 10 years. That nikirudi, when I go back, then that's when I'll do it. She said, no, now.
Yeah.
Hey. And then you realize we waste a lot of time now working on those 10 years to come, waiting for those 10 years to come instead of implementing your ideas here.
Yeah. Do you know how I call that? I call that closing the back door. Because I remember I had that back door open. When I came to this Germany, and I was like, this country, this language, and it was a very hard time the first time. And I would always look back. Wow, in England, I could have done this. In Kenya, I could be this. And that back door was always open. I reached a point and I said to myself, if that back door is always open,
you will never move ahead.
Ever arrive here. And I think maybe meeting those Kenyan people who are like, you will never make it here. And I'm thinking to myself, mimi sikukuja Ulaya, like all the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that I can not achieve, what I wanted to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's not easy. It's not our home. We are not, we don't, that you talked about the networks. We don't have those networks. And like if just to give the people here who are here a picture, like a forest, trees are usually they're interlocked at the roots. And these roots, they hold each other. Like when a storm comes with this drought, in fact, they actually even feed each other through it. And that is what we have back home, the networks. We are deeply rooted. When you come here, you have to put in the work to get yourself implanted here in the network. And me, in fact, let me tell you something. I would not be where I am as a psychologist and as a speaker if I didn't. First of all, I ended up leaving. I used to go to an English-speaking church. I thought to myself, you know what? I need to go to a German church so that I can learn German. And I remember leaving all these things, just so that I can, because I knew to work here as a psychologist, I have to speak a substantially good amount of German, But not just that, being open to having friendships with German people.
Yeah.
In fact, my first speaking engagement, my first big speaking engagement with there was 700 women in the room.
Wow.
Was because from a German friend of mine who they were organizing that, and then the speaker fell out like in the last minute, and then she remembered, she could do it. She asked me, I was like, let's go for it. I'm happy, let's go. And I remember that night I never slept. I was like, Jesus Christ, maybe this was too much.
Yeah.
And I remember people praying for me, and they're like, you'll be fine. And I did it, and it was really good. But I would not have gotten that opportunity if I didn't have that woman. I didn't know that woman. I wouldn't even have gotten my first job because I ended up knowing a Turkish lady who was born and raised here and also highly educated. Our kids were in the same kindergarten. I would just talk to her, and I told her, I'm looking for a job. I can't find. She's like, hey, we are looking for people. I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah. And that first job is the one that enabled me to get the other jobs. So
wow,
you definitely have to find, be connected here with the people and really just see them as people who yes, they have a different culture and think different in some aspects. But at the end of the day, they're also people we can learn things from and benefit a lot from. That mindset, and I know the sweetness of hanging out with Kenyans. I love that as well, and we should cherish that and keep that. But that alone will just block us from opportunities. Yeah, because remember, we need those roots which are deeply rooted, so that we can. Because then it's the Germans who know each other. They are the ones who have opportunities. They are the ones who have, and you always have to remember that. It's not your Kenyan people. They are foreign here, just like you. So they don't have this history or background of knowing this person is there and that. They don't have that. Yeah.
And having the back door open.
Yes, close it. Because at the end of the day, what I always, there's some people there's one woman in Quig. She was telling, and of course we all miss home, and we would love to. The best situation would be back home and with a lot of money, and you're not here doing anything yet. But that's not the reality we are in at the moment. We are in the phase of. I always say, life has many seasons, and we are now plowing and planting. We will reap in a few years, and you reap here, and then you're able maybe to then in Kenya enjoy that. So this quick woman was saying that she goes to Kenya for 5 months and then she's back here in 6 months. And I'm like, oh, I could do that. But then not now. I'm not in a situation to be able to do that now. Yeah. So occupying.
Lucy wants to say something.
I really love the conversation, and I choose to address this question with the power of being maybe put in a predicament, because this is a very interesting question regarding to what Evelyn just said. I love the point of we have to integrate ourselves, but I encounter many women who are very powerful and they would really like to make it, but they are so much concerned about being judged, this so-called, she's very German, this so-called, oh, don't mind her, she doesn't remember her culture. And that is, I find that fear of being judged. The main reason why we are afraid of becoming. And now Evelyn being the psychologist, because it's all about psychology, to balance, our culture will always remain in us, but we are here and we want to be, because back home we had good education, we had good careers, and our dream was to come so that we can give our children a great life. We can become as women and also enjoy that path of being a child, a teenager, a woman, as well as a career woman. But this point of the fear of being judged and isolated actually from the community, because they feel you're becoming too extra, or you're becoming too much, and you hold back. You're neither integrating yourself, you're neither completing the community, and you find yourself having that, what Evelyn said, always wanting to look behind the door we should actually close, but always have it behind our back. And I think that's something we can also have as a conversation to help many of us, including myself. And I have the honor of having you, Evelyn, because I know you can have a conversation to that with an open mindset, Yeah. And I really love the conversation, and thank you for today.
Yeah, I don't know what your name, also your name is again. Lucy.
Yes.
Lucy, I've been judged. I've been told I am German. I've been told all those things. You know what? Let me tell you something. If you want to achieve things in life, you will have to be ready for that you will lose some people along the way. Like I said at the beginning, there was a Kenyan group of women, of people I used to hang out with, and they all told me, you're not going to make it, you don't forget it, and everything. And I had to decide, am I going to keep these friendships? Or how am I able to communicate, to keep such friendships, and still go my own path? In fact, in the end, I actually decided, no, I'm going to step back, because I know who I am and what I want to achieve. And I'm not going to accept less just so that I can have friends, so-called friends. You get it? And I'm not trying to say here you should cut out all your friendships. But I'm trying to, someone who is stopping you from achieving your goals is not a true friend. True friends will be like, hey, they might make a joke or two. And in fact, my friends do make a joke, because, for example, if I say, well, let's meet up, I will be punctual. I will say, let's meet this. Maybe I might even have what is it called? I send you, or what we're going to do. They will make those jokes, but they are not going to say, you're too German, you're what, or try and make me feel bad about that, or exclude me from the group, because of that. So I think this is, and it's not just my friends. I've had that from my family. My family has also called me mzungu. Huyu amekuwa mzungu. Huyu ni mzungu. And they reached a point wakanizoea. It's because at the end of the day, Lucy, if you've come to Germany and you haven't changed at all, you've remained, something is not right. Something is not right. Something is the reality of things is that we do change, and this change does not necessarily mean it's a bad thing. It's in fact an extension of, because I haven't lost my Kenyan identity. I haven't lost who I am as a Kenyan. I know I can sit with Kenyans and make jokes and laugh and be Kenyan, but there's a new identity, a part of me that got extended because of living here, and there's things that I had to pick up so that I can thrive in this environment. If I don't pick up those things, then I'm going to be left out. You get it? I'm going to get excluded. And we see this maybe even in Kenya with Somalians. Some of them, they're just in their huddles, and some of them are well integrated. They speak Swahili, and you're like, okay, this is like a Kenyan, you can't trick them. Some of them even speak Kikuyu. Even those white people, British people who speak Kikuyu, you're like, hey, what is, and and you have a lot of respect for such a person than someone who's just stayed in their bubble, like wale wazungu wana Congo Kenya who just stay in their bubbles. You're like, So if you're in a new environment,
and you're the minority, you have to. There's no way around that. And anything else, in fact, will cause you psychological strain, because you're fighting against the natural process. You get it? Yeah.
Yes.
I
hope, Lucy, your question was answered. She's actually doing an amazing work in Hamburg. And we had hosted a couple of many months, Lucy. But we have another upcoming session, and we'll bring her again. She has she's a mother of many children and many mothers, especially children with disability. Allow me to introduce yourself, Lucy. And she's a big influencer of helping mothers fit into the society. So I think as she's asking the questions, she's asking on behalf of many other mothers whom she carries along. And her story is really, wow, very moving. But you can interact, the two of you. I could send you Evelyn's contacts, or the other way around, and you can definitely be in touch. Maybe she can also travel to Hamburg and be of help. And just to add on what Evelyn said, personally, like whenever I feel there's some struggle, then something is not right. Because at the end of the day, I am the same Carol, the Kenyan Carol, but I've also tried to let me say, to plug in myself into some of the systems to help me navigate here, and not to lose myself, because I don't want to, again, go very extreme. If we have people around us, we tell them about Kenya, what Kenya is. If we have, like, one of the things that I love doing when we have German children coming to visit us, we cook Kenyan food with them, and I teach them how to cook our own food. And I make sure that they go home with something to say about Kenya, and I will not feel like, hey, I don't have what they have. I make the best with the little that I have. I tell them, look, we are different. We never had tables, where we would all sit together, but we were very happy. So I hope, definitely hope the session was helpful. Anyone else with a comment before we close the talk? And Evelyn, maybe you have one or two to close before we, or anyone else with a comment, remark in the Zoom? I'm trying to see if my Zoom has anything before I know my YouTube before I close. I'm a bit scared. I don't want to kick all of you outside, but if there are any questions, then we can check later on. But maybe in the short Zoom session we have, maybe someone has a remark. If not, then Evelyn can do the closing remark. Where do we find you? If we need that one-on-one talk, these are issues where we do not like publicly talking to many people, but personally, I believe that you need someone to sort you out in life. And we have one, Evelyn.
Yes. You at the beginning you showed a clip of mine. I'm actually on YouTube. You can find me on YouTube on a Happy and Fulfilled Life with Evelyne Müller. Check that out. I have a few videos on there on different topics, even like navigating life here in Germany. But you can also find me on, so I have an internet page, and it's www.fulfilled-life.
Let me drop it in the chat.
Yeah.
And I'll also put all those links on the Sorry to Interact on the video on the YouTube, so that people can know where to find you.
Exactly. So maybe I can just write there. So yeah, feel free to contact me. I'm happy to have a conversation with you. Wait, let me just write the YouTube channel. Oh, wait, what's going on here?
You found it, or should I post it?
You know it?
Yes, I was there before.
I was trying to write the name.
Okay.
Müller, not Mullet. Yeah, so if you can check that out, and if you're on there, you will find my Instagram and Facebook, and you can feel free to contact me if you have any questions. Yeah, I'm happy to answer them for you.
Very nice. Thank you so much on behalf of the Edu Career Hub family. Thank you so much for the nice, wonderful afternoon session. And I was talking to a young student who would like to study psychology in Germany, and I was telling her we do not have African psychologists. So come, there's some space, lots of space.
Yes.
And I might connect the two of you so that at least you can also mentor these young people. I so much love the issue of mentoring, because this is the only way we can try to fit in and find our own space if we have that right mentor, that right network, and that right mindset. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you as well for having me, Joaquin.
Good. Then wishing you all a wonderful week.
Yeah, same here.
Take care of your space.
Yeah. Believe in yourselves.
And believe in yourselves. And talk soon.
Yeah. Okay.
Bye. Bye.